Welcome dear friends. Today I am going to discuss the one important topic which is called as a planar transmission lines. This is a part of transmission lines and waveguide. Okay, so let me select the options. So when we'll talk about the planar transmission line, generally it has four types. The first one is microstrip line, second one is strip line, third one is coplanar waveguide, and fourth one is also part of coplanar waveguide, but it has a conductor backside. So it is called as a CB-CPW, conductor back coplanar waveguide. So as you can see here, four different type of planar transmission lines. So generally it has a conductor. You can see here in dark yellow color, or you can say in orange colors. These all are conductors. You can see here. These all are conductors. This one, same with this side. All these are conducting material. It can be copper, aluminum, or any other material. Generally we use copper while designing the components. Any components which works in the radio frequency or microwave application, suitable for any microwave applications, we use while designing this planar transmission line. Okay, so these are conductor, and this one is the dielectric material. This is, I'll write in a short form, DM, dielectric material. It has a relative dielectric constant epsilon r, and it has a certain height h, which is well defined for a particular types. So this will be having epsilon r, this dielectric material, and it provides a proper support to these conducting materials. So this will be treated as a signal line. Okay, so generally positive terminal will be connected here, and this will be treated as a ground. So negative terminal will be connected here. So you can see this side I have written W. These are the design parameters when we are designing any type of transmission line elements or the devices. So that time we have to consider all these parameters. So we should know. Okay, and I'll explain individually one by one. So first parameter is W, width of the conductor. So whatever signal line we are taking, okay, so there will be certain width of this conductor. So in due course I will be explaining how to calculate this width and all those things. First we'll just have idea what is the width. So depending upon this width of the signal line only, or we can say it as generally as a strip. That's why we call as a micro strip line or strip line, like that. Okay, so here also you can see this is a strip which is having a width W. Here also we can see it is a signal strip which is having a width W. Here also same way. So this is the width of conductor. So when we'll consider the width of this conductor in micrometer range, okay, and it is a strip, that's why it is called as a micro strip line. Generally we say it as a micro strip line because the width of this signal line is in micrometer. So it is clear now. And this one is a ground separated by certain height. So now whatever kind of material we are using, like say FR4 or epoxy or any other materials, it has certain relative dielectric constant that is denoted by epsilon r. It plays a major role while designing it. We have to see that how to calculate epsilon r effective, and what will be the effect while calculating the width or length of the particular transmission line, whether it is a microstrip line or it is a strip line or it is a CPW or it is a CPW by conductor backed. Okay, so all these things are there. Now when we'll talk about the strip line, it has a two ground planes, okay, and inside we have a strip line. So here this parameter is denoted by B. The separation between two ground plane is B, and the separation between the signal line and the ground plane is H. So this H is now B by 2. So you can see here H is equals to B by 2, and B is the distance between two ground conductors. For strip line only we are defining it. For other transmission lines we will not use this B. But when you will see the book of microwave engineering by DM Pozar or any other books, if you'll see, they are having different notation. Just we have to make sure that when we are considering this, the thickness or we say height of the substrate, whether it is B for strip line or we are considering for micro strip line or CPW and CPW conductor backed, then it should be small h. So these things should be clear. And last one is the G gap. So here when we'll talk about the coplanar waveguide, it is called as a coplanar because in a same plane we have ground plane also and signal plane also. So if you'll see here, ground and the signal path both are in the same plane, that's why it is called as a coplanar waveguide. And here it is not having the backside conducting plane. Okay, so we are having just in the same plane everything. Now this is also a most common coplanar waveguide where we want a better signal strength and very minimum crosstalk between the signals. So we use this conductor backed CPW line. Here we are having the backside conductor. One more important thing you have to remember, that whenever we are defining these conductor planes, it has a certain thickness which is defined by T, thickness of the conducting material copper. Almost in the several cases when we'll take any PCB or any other designs, the thickness will be defined, particular thickness will be given to you. So using those parameters we can solve several problems. So in this particular video I am going to discuss the strip line, and I'll be taking certain examples and I'll solve the problem, and I'll discuss in detail how to find out the width if the other parameters are given for the particular strip line. So moving further, in next PPT I'll explain you the cross sections for individual planar transmission line and their electric field and magnetic field variation. So now see, this is the strip line. As I told you, we have a signal line here and two ground planes, okay, separated by distance b. This is a cross section view. Now you can see here, we can see the cross section view. Let me select the, okay, now it is fine. So we have a E field and H field. Always when we'll talk about the strip line, micro strip line, waveguide or transmission lines at a high frequency, we are always talking about the electric field and the magnetic field phenomena. So the important thing what you have to consider here is we have to talk about epsilon r, not epsilon r effective. Okay, because in the strip line section we can see we have two planes and our signal plane is properly confined inside these two ground plane. So we have above also one ground plane and down also one ground plane. So you can see the electric field initiates from here and terminates to this ground, and again initiates from here and terminates to this ground. So electric field, as I told, it starts from here and terminates to this ground and terminates to this ground. So only whatever dielectric material we have inside here, which is having epsilon r dielectric constant, is responsible while designing, and it is only responsible to control the phase velocity of the signal or the propagation constant and other parameters. I'll discuss in detail in the upcoming slides. So what we can infer from here, that there will not be a role to find out the epsilon r effective. By using only epsilon r we can design the parameters. That is the case of strip line. Now talking about the micro strip line, this is not the same case. When we'll talk about the micro strip line, we have to consider the effect of epsilon r effective. Why it is so? Because you can see here we are not having the ground plane upper side. Okay, it is totally free, and it is electric fields are going into the free space also, as well as the dielectric material. So you can see here the electric field starts from here and terminates to the ground. It goes into the free space also, okay, and again comes back to the ground. So this epsilon r, whatever dielectric material we are using, we have to find out the epsilon r effective also. So all those parameters will be used when we are talking about the micro strip line. But in this video, actually I will be talking about the strip line only. So the concept of epsilon r effective will be discussed in the next part of the video when I will talk about the micro strip line. Now moving further for CPW line, so you can see here, as I told, the name suggests it is a coplanar waveguide. Means we have the ground plane, signal plane, and again a ground plane in a same plane. So that's why it is called as a coplanar waveguide. So when we'll talk about the electric field, E and H field, so it starts from here and terminates this side, and the same way starts from here and terminates, and the magnetic fields are like this. So everything is confined. So crosstalk will not be that much. Okay, so that's why this line is also used, and it is easy to integrate the components because we can easily integrate the component using the signal line and ground plane. So we don't, there is no need of via. Okay, we need not to make a hole, dig a hole and then try to connect to the ground. Okay, directly we can use. So that's why it is little popular when in the same device we are trying to, suppose this is our device place and I have a antenna here, amplifier, LNA like that, and I want to connect those things. Okay, easily it can be connected. But in case of microstrip line, if we will talk about, it is not possible in such a way. Now moving further, the question comes, why we are discussing this planar line when there is a waveguide, coaxial lines, different types of transmission lines are there. Why planar line or plane transmission lines are more important? So see, high power handling and low loss can be obtained by using the waveguide itself, the waveguide structures, but it is bulky and expensive. When we are moving for coaxial line, attenuation will be high and it is quite difficult to fabricate. And both the cases, it is not conformal. Okay, so the best approach, or we say the main parameter, okay, the advantage of the plane transmission line is the conformal nature of the planar transmission line. Now we'll tell about the conformal means, if we are having a shape, suppose car is there. So in previous days we use in car weep antennas used to be connected to receive the electromagnetic signals. Okay, so that can be avoided, but there will be mechanical disturbance when we are in motion. Okay, then there will be disturbance and signal capture capacity will be less. So due to this conformal nature, easily we can fix on any surface and we can mount it if we can design on the flexible kind of, if you are using the flexible kind of dielectric materials. If I will be more precise, then you can see this is the point and the zoom view, and here you can see this is the plane where we have the planar structures. Okay, like a diode or we say chip capacitors and other elements, whatever we are designing antenna like that. Okay, so all those are having conformal nature, so easily we can paste it on a surface. So that is the biggest advantage. Then the compact structures can be designed, and when we are selecting the dielectric material, they are little cheap and their cost can be minimized, so economical structures also can be framed. And another, as I told, in case of CPW, the integration capability is very good. So that's why we prefer planar transmission line. So all these four parameters are influencing parameter which allows us to go for the planar transmission line. So now moving further for the strip line. So in the strip line, if you'll see, we have two ground planes. So when we are exciting it at this point with certain signal, and that signal propagates inside the strip line structure, it has certain phase velocity, which is 1 over under root mu naught epsilon r. Also here you can have a mu r, okay, but we consider there is no magnetic change in our permeability, so we are having it as a mu r is equals to 1, so we have not considered here. So now see, mu naught and epsilon naught, we know 1 by under root mu naught epsilon naught is nothing but a speed of light c. So the factor under root epsilon r will be there. So if epsilon r is 1, the Vp will be almost same inside this strip line. Otherwise, Vp will be reduced by the factor of under root epsilon r. Okay, so while calculating the phase velocity, we can see this one. Same way when talking about the propagation constant inside this strip line, that is omega by Vp. Okay, angular frequency divided by phase velocity. Omega is nothing but 2 pi f naught. Okay, so this is under root mu naught epsilon naught and epsilon r again multiplied with this. Okay, so Vp can be replaced with this one, and here we'll be having under root epsilon r and k naught. Same thing can be written in this way because omega is nothing but 2 pi f naught. Okay, and k is nothing but 2 pi by lambda naught, and lambda is related with the c and f. Okay, so we can change all these parameters and we can write beta is equals to under root epsilon r k naught. K naught is nothing but a wave number. So we can find out the propagation constant. This is the important parameter, and phase velocity. Now the question here comes like propagation constant is nothing but gamma, which is alpha plus j beta. But we are assuming that there is a minimal loss, negligible, so alpha is 0. That's why our gamma is nothing but j beta. Okay, so this is nothing but a propagation constant. Phase constant itself is called as a propagation constant. I hope you are aware of this already. Gamma is propagation constant, alpha is attenuation, and this is phase. And phase becomes propagation constant because alpha is 0. Moving further. Now, strip line is having speed of light nearly equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second in the free space, but it can be reduced further if you are using a different dielectric material. If its dielectric constant is increased, speed can be reduced, and that is nothing but phase velocity. Now, at high frequencies, we assume that R, sorry, I have to select here. So at high frequency, if we'll consider, then the factor R plus j omega L divided by G plus j omega C. So R and G is much less compared to this j omega L and j omega C factor. Okay, and then j omega and j omega will be cancelled out. You will be having L by C. Why I am telling you that? Because the general expression for the characteristic impedance is given as R plus j omega L divided by G plus j omega C, which is reduced to this under root L by C. Now I can write this as a under root L by C divided by C. This C is the speed of light and this is the capacitance. Now under root L by C can be written as a 1 by Vp. Okay, so 1 by Vp into C. Some numericals in the GATE exam also you can see there as objective questions can be asked while designing the strip line or related to the strip line. If objective comes, they will be asking like phase velocity is given and Z naught is given, find out the inductance or capacitance and phase velocity is given, so Z naught can be found out, and these parameters are defined as a per unit length. So L will be per unit length and C will be also per unit length. So for L, Henry per meter, and for C, Farad per meter, like that unit is defined. Moving on the characteristic impedance for the strip line formula. Okay, so already I discussed about the factor B, okay, and width, but here we have the effective width. I'll discuss in next slide what is effective width, how to calculate effective width from the physical width WP. Okay, and epsilon R already we know for the dielectric material. So these three parameters if known, okay, we can calculate the characteristic impedance for the strip line. Or sometimes strip line characteristic impedance is given direct, so we can calculate the width and all those things. So vice versa can be calculated. Now moving further, so this formula is used to calculate the effective width by B ratio. So as you can see here, W is effective width, B is the height between the two ground planes for the strip line. Okay, this was the ground plane 1 and ground plane 2. Here we have the signal strip. Okay, so this is the B. So first we can calculate the W by B, and then we can minus 0, or we can minus 0.35 minus W by B whole square. This depends upon these two factors. So just I would like to tell you, these all are not like a derived formula and all. These all are curve fitting formulas by doing several experiments close to the numerical formulas result. We will be getting approximately, we can say, same result we can get it. So for that, first we have to define certain ratios. So W by B greater than 0.35. I will calculate WE by B, width, effective width by B, using this formula. Means directly I can write whatever is W by B is the WE by B. But if W by B ratio is less than 0.35, then I have to use this formula. Okay, so I'll subtract this parameter from W by B, and then I'll multiply whatever factor I will get with B, I will get the effective width. So in this way we can calculate the effective width of the strip line. Now moving further, how to calculate the W by B itself, then only we can go and calculate the effective width. So while calculating the W by B, we have to find out the parameter X, then only we can calculate the W by B ratio, where W is the width of the signal conductor and B is the separation between the two ground planes, as already I have discussed. So now see, X is nothing but 30 pi divided by under root epsilon R Z naught minus 0.441. So all these formulas whatever I am discussing it to you, whenever a question comes, either you can remember the just conditions, otherwise formulas will be given to calculate the parameter. So for a particular design, if question asked to calculate the W by B, you have to find out this condition, whether under root epsilon R Z naught is outside from the root. So Z naught value is given, okay, then you have to find out this particular multiplication. If it is less than 120, then W by B is equals to X. If it is not, it is greater than 120, then W by B is equals to 0.85 minus under root of 0.6 minus X. And X we can calculate because we know the epsilon R value and we know the Z naught. In most of the cases, standard is 50 ohm Z naught. Okay, and epsilon R will be given depending upon the substrate, what kind of substrate we are using for the design. So easily we can calculate this, and then we can calculate the W by B. And once we have calculated W by B, going back, you can see here you got the W by B value, so you can calculate the effective width, okay, by defining this condition. If it is greater than or less than, depending upon this, we can select the formula and we can calculate the effective width. Okay, so when we are talking about the strip line, there is a dielectric material and there is a conducting material. So definitely there will be certain kind of losses. So there are two basic losses. One is called as a dielectric loss, dielectric loss, or we say attenuation. Another one is called as a due to conductor. Okay, so conduction loss, or we say conduction attenuation. Okay, so one is defined as alpha d, another one is defined as a alpha c. So total attenuation will be given as alpha d plus alpha c. So attenuation for a particular strip line at particular frequency will be given as a alpha d plus alpha c. It can be defined as a Napier per meter, then you can convert into dB per meter by using the formula I will discuss in the next slide. Now, so alpha d is defined as a k 10 del by 2. So for a particular design, okay, when we are doing it, for their design, the tangential loss will be given to, tangential loss will be defined for the particular material. It can be like 0.001 or 0.002, like that. It will be always defined. And when it is defined, we need to calculate the only wave number. And wave number, as I told previously also, 2 pi f under root epsilon r by c. If epsilon r is 1, it is nothing but 2 pi f divided by c, or it is also defined as a 2 pi by lambda if you know the wavelength of the signal from the frequency. So if you know the wave number, directly we can calculate the alpha d. It is very easy. Now moving on to alpha c, again it has a conditional formulas. It means it is a curve fitting formula. It is not directly derived with the mathematics, but gives around 1 to 2% close to error, but gives approximately fine result for the calculation. So now 2.7 into 10 to the power minus 3 Rs is nothing but a surface resistance, okay, which can be easily calculated by the using formula. If you know the conductivity and you know the frequency, you can calculate the surface resistance. Most of the cases, surface resistance will be defined for copper or aluminium, whatever we are using, okay. For all those things, this will be defined. Epsilon r is given to you, what kind of submetal we are going to use. Z0 will be defined 50 ohm or whatever value is given, because if it is not known, we cannot find out the condition, okay, and we cannot proceed. So we have to get the value of epsilon r, we have to get the value of Z0, then we'll get the condition. If it is less than 120, I will use this formula. If it is greater than 120, then I'll use this formula. So by seeing this, you can see B will be given to you, Z0 will be given to you, Rs we can calculate depending upon the conductivity and frequency for what we are going to calculate the design. Thickness will be given for the particular material, okay, B is same like this. Now only thing is that these two constant A and B, so we have to select A and B depending upon this condition. So first we'll find out this condition, then we'll get this A and B value. In next slide you will see the value of A and B. These two are the constant. So now see, it is very easy to calculate because we know the W, we know the B, T, okay. So if we know all these parameters, easily we can calculate the capital A, and the same way we can calculate the B, and we can find out the constants. And thickness, most of the cases, whatever numerical will be given to you, it will be always defined. So we have to calculate these constants, and then we have to place here and find out the alpha c value. Okay, for alpha d there is no need of constant, directly it is defined, but for alpha c, because it depends upon the so many parameters, so we have to find out the conditions and then we have to give these values, okay, and then we can proceed. Now moving further, I'll take an example and I'll show it to you how to solve the problem for the given strip line. So here you can see I have taken a problem where we have to find out the width for a 50 ohm copper strip line. So Z0 is given in the question 50 ohm, B is given 0.32 centimeter. This you have to remember, okay, unit always have to come into meter. Epsilon r is given 10 del is given 0.001, frequency of operation is given 10 gigahertz, thickness is given as 0.01 millimeter, okay, so you have to convert into meter. Rs is given as 0.026, already it is given. If it is not, you have to find out the conductivity and other parameter, okay, and you can calculate this one. And finally you have to find out the attenuation in dB per lambda. So moving further, first as I told, you have to find the condition. Epsilon r is given 2.2, Z0 is given 50. So under root of 2.2 into 50 is 74.2, which is less than 120. Okay, so we can calculate the x value. X is 0.830 from this formula, 30 pi by under root epsilon r z naught. Epsilon r is given, z naught is given, we calculated x. So using this formula directly, because it is less than 120, so I'll use first formula, okay, from equation 1.6. So W is equals to Bx. We got W as a 0.266 centimeter. Now at 10 gigahertz, I have to calculate the K because I have to calculate the alpha D, attenuation due to dielectric. So that will be K is equals to 2 pi f under root epsilon r divided by C. Epsilon r is 2.2, C is given, okay, for the speed of light, frequency is 10 gigahertz. So keep all these values, you will get 310.6 meter inverse, okay, it is per meter, unit of the wave number. So this you found it as a 310.6. So using this parameter, we can calculate the alpha D. So you can see here as alpha D is nothing but K 10 del by 2 is equals to 310.6 into 0.001, which is 10 del divided by 2. So this is our alpha D. Now surface resistance of copper at 10 gigahertz is given as 0.026 already in question. So using this, okay, and using the condition A, okay, so constant A we have to select. Why we are selecting it? Because our value of under root epsilon r z naught is less than 120. So constant I have calculated A as 4.74 using that equation. You can see the equation in previous slides and you can calculate A and then put value of A, RS value epsilon 2.2, Z naught 50 ohm, B is given, T is given. Just keep all these values. You will be getting alpha C like 0.122 Nepher per meter. So total alpha is alpha C plus alpha D 0.122 and 0.155, that is 0.277 Nepher per meter. Now one thing we have to discuss is here we are getting in Nepher per meter, okay, and we have to calculate in dB per meter, then dB per lambda. So converting into dB, we know that the nature of the wave, okay, propagation is the decay is always e to the power alpha. Okay, so we have to take the log of this and multiply with 20. Why we are multiplying with 20? Because we are always talking about voltage, electric field, magnetic field and current, not about power. So we have to take it as a 20. I'll explain here in the next slide. See, so in dB, this alpha dB per meter will be 20 log e to the power alpha. Reason as I told, because we are talking about the electric field and magnetic field, so we are taking it as a 20 log e to the power alpha. So the alpha value whatever we got, we'll take this and then take the log of it, multiply with 20. This is 2.41 dB per meter. Okay. Now converting into the per lambda formula, we have to calculate first lambda and then we have to multiply that value, okay, with the dB per meter. We will get dB per lambda. So this is the final calculation. So for any particular given example, okay, or any given question, if it is asked to calculate the width, so the first thing is we have to find out the under root epsilon r into z naught, this condition, because these two parameters will be given. Using these parameters, we can calculate all other values, okay, and then finally we have to use this formula to convert the Nepher per meter into dB per meter. One more thing I would like to tell you, it is in yes, it is in next slide. Why to convert to Nepher meter to dB per meter using this way? The reason I already explained. Now when we are converting it, this loss in dB per length, multiply Nepher per length by 8.686. This you have to remember. Okay, this is very easy factor. So using this factor, we can convert the vice versa formula from dB to Nepher, Nepher to dB. Okay, fine. So till here I have explained all the calculation. Just I'll move the first slide. Yes. So here I have discussed about the strip line. In my next video, I will be talking about the microstrip line and its calculation. Thank you. If you like the content, kindly subscribe and share the content. Thank you so much. In next part, I will be explaining the microstrip line and its calculation in detail.